Each year, I make a concerted effort to play more games than the year before, especially those in genres I'm not as familiar with. Due to a historically devastating outbreak of the novel coronavirus, exacerbated by the historical incompetence of executive leadership, I spent a lot of my spare time inside, playing video games. The money I saved on gas made me more adventurous with a variety of titles, from studios that were definitely appreciative of the extra dollars in these trying times. Still, I'm reticent to lionize gaming as a beacon of mental endurance, considering the number of people who are unemployed, overworked, poorly protected, threatened with eviction, neglected in the justice system, isolated in a hospital ward, or no longer alive. Meanwhile, gaming itself is still an avatar for all of capitalism's excesses. Overpaid upper management, manipulative monetization, abusive working conditions, overall job instability, and the stoking of consumerist frenzy. Yet for all my acknowledgement of the privilege it takes to play this many video games, I can't deny that they've become an unexpected source of catharsis for millions. Even if you couldn't afford $60 for the latest AAA extravaganza, there was always a smaller studio to surprise you with their quality. Whether gamers were looking for a semblance of normalcy, an articulation of their frustrations, a well of commiseration, or a chance at rediscovering agency in a world out of control, the interactive arts were there to satisfy them. That's what I'm thinking about while creating my best of list. Which games left the biggest impression on me? What games remained memorable in a year made up almost entirely of memorable circumstances? With these superlative entries, I hope to highlight my most resonant experiences, clue you into the titles you should consider buying, and further contextualize the qualities I find appealing in games of all kinds, because it's actually been a really good year. Ground rules. Only games released on some platform in 2020. So I can't retroactively give Disco Elysium my Game of the Year 2019, but I will consider any game with a 2020 release on any platform despite earlier releases on another. No early access games though. I'll wait until they are complete. Lastly, I won't include 9th generation titles. Getting a hold of a new console has proved impossible, and I'd sooner take a box cutter to my own hairline than hand any money to a scalper. I'm also excluding any games meant for the 9th generation with an 8th generation port, so no Assassin's Creed Valhalla or Spider-Man Miles Morales. Oh, and no Cyberpunk 2077, for reasons that are both very obvious and very, very sad. Transgender people have had a really rough time of it these past few years. The nominal improvements in trans visibility, outspoken support, and celebrity transition were overshadowed by an exhausting deluge of misinformation, intimidation, and violence. It's devastating to be on the receiving end of such uniformly malicious hatred, from right-wing zealots to condescending liberals, as well as the anxiety of coming out for your friends and family. So naturally, one of the most affirming games of 2020 would involve a trans woman taking back control of her life, using a simple eraser. In addition to the arresting visuals, creative presentation, and devastating drama, If Found's most meaningful accomplishment comes from imbuing very simple interactions with characterization and agency. What Cassio does to survive, as well as the reasons behind her feelings and decisions, is all subtly explained through the use of an eraser. As the story transforms, so too does the function of erasure, from separation to revelation to future foundation laying. Despite its short playtime, it punctuates its brevity with truly innovative and memorable advancements in video game narrative. But more importantly, If Found celebrates queer and transgender people's pursuit of love, safety, and self-determination, while absolutely shattering your heart in the process.
If I ever were to lose you, I'd surely lose myself.
A sequel to The Last of Us sounded like the worst idea. It ended on such a hauntingly ambiguous note, with Joel and Ellie's relationship now strained by distrust and the dashing of humanity's hope for recovery. Unraveling that ending could only weaken it, and revisiting a story always risks repeating it to diminishing returns. To make a worthwhile sequel, this new game might have to upend the foundational morality of the franchise interrogate the toxicity of Joel's relationships, and put human faces to the consequences of his actions. Sure, the story you'd end up telling is a bloated and occasionally ponderous behemoth of a linear narrative, with structural issues indicative of confused narrative priorities, but it would also mean pulling off an affecting and subversive examination of Joel's emotional baggage. He gaslights Ellie, disrupts her confidence in her own reality, just to fill the hole Sarah left behind. He even took another father out of this world so he can have this relationship with his surrogate daughter.
I won't let you take her. This is our future. Think of all the lives we'll save.
Now, The Last of Us Part 2 focuses on what it's like to inherit that violence, how it thwarts your sense of purpose, companionship, and identity. It pushes two women down an ugly, pointless, and suicidal path where they must save themselves from their own annihilation. It demands that they reconnect with kinder, healthier people who give them meaning beyond their ability to kill. Lastly, despite its many criticisms of the man, the game still appreciates the good in Joel. I plan on releasing a longer video with my full thoughts later next year, but for now, The Last of Us Part 2 is a 2020 highlight. If you were put off by the hype, controversy, and toxicity around this game's release, I'd recommend taking a second look, because it's really onto something. Aw yeah! Doom Eternal got Game of the Year recognitions. We need an awesome kill montage set to Mick Gordon's soundtrack. Ready? Here we go! When you really think about it, focusing on an over-the-top medley of violence does a disservice to the genuinely brilliant advancement in gameplay. The celestial energy crisis from the last game persists, accelerating the annihilation of humanity by the Khan Maker. The Doomslayer's job is to ask as few questions as possible while ramming his boot straight up the collective ass of demonkind. In service of the narrative escalation, Doom Eternal has turned the dial up on the combat. Every element of the shooting has undergone a precision refinement. The big weapons cleave huge chunks of meat off the demons, while smaller weapons retain broader utility through context-specific effects and upgrades. This means that starter guns like the combat shotgun, plasma rifle, and heavy cannon stay useful as the encounters get more challenging. Incidental conveniences like ammunition from chainsaws and health packs from glory kills are now strategic necessities, as staying alive requires proactive aggression, mindful resource management, and quick thinking. These changes incentivize a faster, more frantic, and in my opinion, more fun style of gameplay. And I guess, since you made it this far into the video, you get a kill montage! 2020 became the perfect opportunity for me to try new things, since many of the things I used to like came with a plague risk. A tactical RPG beat-em-up sounds like a nightmare on paper, but here's Treachery and Beatdown City delivering all that and then some. This game is so different and fun, and I'd hate to let the year go by without telling people about it. Again. The best word to describe Beatdown City is density. Every mechanic has more going on under the surface than simple fighting. By slowing down the combat a la Pillars of Eternity, players take apart the strategy for getting good at brawlers. Give your character some space to think, carefully apportion strong attacks for tougher enemies or large groups, and attack with discipline. Don't button mash. This kind of gameplay deconstruction celebrates the core appeal of the beat-em-up. On top of the thrilling combat, the mechanics contribute to an unflinching critique of gentrification, racism, and the other realities of capitalist urban development. It takes specific aim at people who benefit from oppressing working-class residents of color, highlighting their hegemonic influence through cleverly articulated mechanics. Thus, the player is clued into the violence from gentrifiers, police, and other agents of capital, all while laughing their asses off at the hilarious writing. Treachery and Beatdown City wears so many hats as a game. It's innovative, fun, funny, and borderline educational in both a ludological and sociological context. The only thing it doesn't do is disappoint. Hades is a staggering accomplishment in game design. Every ambition Supergiant Games has pursued is realized brilliantly in this Greek mythological roguelite. Top-notch gameplay, sprawling narratives with complex characters, beautiful imagery, evocative compositions, and a penchant for elevating gaming conventions. It makes sense that people credit Hades with demonstrating the appeal of roguelites. It takes the often demoralizing genre formula and adds encouragement to every step.
Damn it.
The combat is thrilling. Each weapon is designed to be fast, responsive, and flexible enough to accommodate any gamer's preferred strategy. While each heroic weapon comes with strengths and drawbacks, clever players can capitalize on an elaborate upgrade system to maximize comfort and effectiveness for themselves. Weapons I thought I'd never use became my go-to killing tools after properly selecting the most beneficial Olympian boons. So flexible is the progression. And speaking of Olympians, the translation of Greek mythology from ancient legend to modern narrative is sublime. Zagreus is the complex, humorous, and achingly affectionate son of Hades, attempting to escape his father's domain while interacting with well-known figures of myth. With each run to the surface, successful or not, the writing extrapolates on familiar characterizations to create growth and evolution in the context of the new story. It explores the characters so deeply that even though Zagreus' origin is fairly obvious, players become invested in the emotions behind each discovery. There's a reason Hades has become 2020's indie darling. The best game of 2020 snuck up on me. What seemed like a simple town builder had this incredibly slow burn to it, gradually revealing its depths through love and commitment. It connected with me in a way I never expected, resonating with my thoughts on relationships, individual fulfillment, and the transformative power of unconditional positive regard. It gave me a wonderful cast of friends and neighbors, all of whom grew with me as I shared my time with them. So while I appreciated my time with Animal Crossing New Horizons, I have to give my Game of the Year award to Spiritfarer. Thunder Lotus's most soothing release to date is also an incredibly positive journey about a young woman finding herself in the service of others. The barge Stella uses to ferry souls to the afterlife is a massive vessel for healing, introspection, and psychological well-being. It's in this loving environment where troubled spirits can unblock their hearts and minds as they eat their favorite foods or pursue the lives they couldn't lead while living. And most startlingly, the tasks we took on to support them were vectors for the pain we feel in their absence. A lot of really good games came out in 2020, but Spiritfarer stands tall for being so affecting in its simplicity. Without the exhaustion of challenging gameplay, the ponderance of narrative cinematics, or the pretense of destiny-shaping choices, Spiritfarer locked me into a routine, dug deep into my heart, and used that sentimentality to teach me about humanity, of life, loss, and the people I share it with. When I think about all the lives that Stella changed through her kindness and dedication, I cannot place my commendation anywhere else but in her. Those are my 6 favorite games of 2020. If I missed a game you think deserved top honors, then there are 2 possibilities. 1, I haven't played it, or 2, I did play it, but it didn't resonate with me as much as the titles I listed. Either way, leave a comment to share your opinion, and I may follow up with my own thoughts. Like I said, I have a few ideas for videos I'd like to make next, but while my audience is still very small, I'm open to suggestions by popular demand. It's been a little under a year since I started working on this channel. It was really rough going in the beginning. Between the pandemic, the changes at my day job, and some disappointing academic results, putting time and energy into a YouTube channel felt more and more like a waste. Then in October, I turned that around with my second video, a review that I was really proud of. Since then, I've reminded myself through my output that I enjoy this and benefit from having a critical outlet. Regardless of how 2020 treats me, I hope to still bring my perspective on video games. Even as big AAA titles become a vacuum of crunch and hollow engagement, there's always someone out there looking to make their unique voice heard in the interactive medium. I'd like to be there, sharing my ideas with the other game talkers. Thank you for your time, and have a happy new year.